welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk to you about how to ace a interview. My first tip, I'm gonna have 10 tips for you guys. So my first tip I would say is number one, practice good nonverbal communication. Meaning, don't chew gum, stand up straight if you're having to stand during the interview. If you're sitting, make sure you're sitting up straight. And when the interviewer is speaking with you, make sure that you are looking them in the eye and really showing that you're listening to what they have to say. My second tip would be dress for the job or role that you want in that company. My go-to colors that I usually like to wear are navies, blacks, whites, and grays, and that could be in blazers, dress skirts, pants. I usually try to stick to the neutral colors. That's what I usually go for. But if they ask you for a specific color to wear that color. If they say that you need to wear heels or they want you to wear flats, or if there's a certain attire that they want you to look the part, make sure that you're wearing what they asked you to wear. Do not try to wear a color that they say do not wear deliberately just to stand out. It's not a good look. If you do that, I think it will hurt your chances more than anything. It just shows that you cannot follow the directions that they ask you to do before the interview, and it just shows that you're not being prepared. So I don't think that would be a good idea. So my third tip that I have for you is to practice active listening. If they are going over the job role with you or the job description, make sure that you're listening to what that entails. Don't try to interrupt or say, yeah, that sounds great, or say that you don't agree with something at that point. Just try to have them talk and listen to what they have to say without interrupting them, because later on when they are reviewing things with you towards the end and wrapping things up, they may ask you a question regarding what they already told you in the beginning, and if you look at them like a deer in the headlights, like you weren't listening to what they were saying in the beginning, it definitely will hurt you. So definitely make sure you're actively listening to your interviewer. My fourth tip would be, do not overshare with your interviewer. Don't try to relate to them in any way, because you guys most likely are in different roles, or you will be in different roles. So just be yourself, but don't try to relate to them in any way. Try to keep it very professional, and kind of leave the personal out of the equation while you're doing your interview. My next tip, or my fifth tip, will be don't be too familiar. Try to stay focused and don't go on tangents. And it kind of goes with tip number 4, don't oversharing. Don't go off in a tangent, and it definitely throws the interview off course, and it's very distracting if you are rambling about something personal with your life or anything like that. So try not to do those things. My sixth tip would be use appropriate language. Don't use any slang. I'm sure I'm stating the obvious. Don't cuss. And just try to, sometimes when you're nervous, you tend to say, and I always do this as well, and I'm sure I've done this in this video, in previous videos as well, saying and like a lot. Try to not do that. If you somehow feel like you are having the urge to say just think about what you're going to say next. It's okay to take a pause and think about what you're going to say next. There's no rush to do that, but just in case you kind of get stagnant and you're not sure what to say, just try to take a pause and you'll be fine. My next tip would be for number 7 would be to be confident, not cocky. I always say to myself in interviews, and I'm speaking with the interviewer, you know, you made it this far, congratulations, you did this, but you only made it this far, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you're here, but you're not finished, and you still have to show your worth and show your value to this company, and you don't have it wrapped up in the bag. Don't think that you have the job, because you don't until they offer it to you. So just try to keep that in mind when you're going for the interviews. My 8th tip would be, sometimes in interviews they ask you to do or answer the questions in to answer a question in a certain format. So for example, for the job that I was going after or wanting to really get was, or the dream job that I wanted to have, they asked me to answer the questions in STAR method. And what STAR means for this particular job is situation, task, action, and result. So for example, they will ask the question, you know, what would you do if you were in an emergency situation? What will your steps be to get the solution resolved? And they'll give you a certain scenario, and you would start off with, okay, what's the situation, what happened, then what the next step would be, the task. What did you do, or what did you get others to do to help you with that situation? Next would be the action. How did you accomplish getting the task handled? Or if you were working as a team, how did you guys get that handled? What exactly was the action that you took? And then for the last one is results. What was the result of that situation and how it was handled? So you would be able to explain that to that interviewer. My 9th tip would be to ask questions. At the end, when they ask, do you have any questions for me? Make sure that you have at least 1 or 2 questions. You don't have to have like a whole list of questions, but you don't want to not have any questions at all. I have performed interviews before as I was the interviewer, and when I ask that question, it gives me a good idea of whether the person is really interested in the job or if they are just trying to rush the interview to kind of get it over with. We do understand that it can be nerve-wracking and you could be very nervous, but at the same time, they want to see that you've shown some sort of interest in the job. So to at least have 1 question, I always would ask, what are the next steps in the process? I ask if there is training or paid training available. How long would the training be? You can ask about salary or anything like that. If they haven't discussed that beforehand, you can talk about that, but at least have some sort of question to ask the interviewer, so that way it shows that you were interested in the job. My 10th tip would be, I know this is kind of a weird one, but I would say don't appear desperate. I know that you probably really need the job, and some people are just kind of like trying to get their foot in the door. Nobody really knows your situation as to why you're on this interview and getting the job, but I wouldn't go into the interview and say, I have full autonomy, I'm ready to I can do this, X, Y, and Z. Of course, state your skills, but do not go in saying I can do this person's job and I can do this job and I can do this job and there'll be no problem with me. I can work any hours that you say. I can come in at a short notice, or I usually don't take time off, and I'm going to be very dedicated to this job. Only because, one, you don't want to kind of guilt trip the interviewer and feeling like, oh, you know, I feel bad and I know somebody else may be well qualified, but I want to give this person a chance because they're just gushing out all these things that they can do for my company. Also, you want to have set healthy boundaries. If you go into it and they actually offer you the job, and if you've done this before and they offered you the job, what will happen is they will have that expectation that you are going to be the go-to person to go to for everything, and then you're going to end up doing all of the jobs that you said that you were going to do, and they're going to expect that you're going to do it with a smile on your face and that you are okay with doing whatever they ask you to do, because you were so open and willing to kind of cater to whatever they wanted beyond your job description. And it opens up the door for the interviewer or the job or company to kind of take advantage of you, and you don't want that. You don't want to have a job where they feel that they could do that to you. So it's, have clear boundaries. Obviously show them what you can do and show them what you're made of, but at the same time, don't appear like you will just do any and everything to get this job. It's just not something that I would recommend. And since we're almost done, well, we are done, I wanted to give you like a bonus tip, I would say. And I think it's kind of, very standard thing when you're going into a job interview, but that is to be on time. And I know some people are like, well, if my interview starts at 8, I'll be there at 7:55. No, try to be there 15 minutes early. I know the saying always is, if you're on time, you're late, and if you're 15 minutes early, you're on time. Just in case you want to go in and you may have to use the bathroom because you're super nervous. You may I like to go in, and sometimes I do have to use the bathroom, or I like to sit down and kind of like read the room, as some people would say, and I would like to just see if there's other people coming in that are probably going after the same job that I am, or if it's just me that they're interviewing at the time. I kind of want to see how they are, if they're kind of organized and have maybe a check-in system, and if they have like like a little itinerary of how, or schedule of how the interview was going to go. I like to look for those things when also, you know, interviewing for that job. So I think it's good to just have that sort of insight to when you're going in to your interview, and it kind of gives you enough time to kind of calm your nerves, look over anything, or see if any questions that you would like to ask, or any last minute things that you want to like look up about the company, or anything like that that you're trying to do, as far as trying to go the extra mile by being on time. And I know I was going to give you just one, but I can give you two bonus tips. My last tip that I have for you is, I think that throughout the interview, if you're interviewing with one person or maybe even two, try to remember their name. It really, really, really makes you stand out if you could remember their name, because that's a first impression, means everything. And as soon as you go in and they'll say, hi, my name is Sarah, or hi, my name is Mark, and you're shaking their hand, and hi, my name is Kiana, and you will notice that majority of the time, I would say any good interviewer will mention your name throughout the interview. And if you can just try to remember to mention their name once, even if it's as you're wrapping up the interview and you say, thank you so much, Mark, for taking the time and the consideration of interviewing me, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. That's perfect. And it just shows that it gives that little personal touch without having to do much or say much more than that. And I think that would really help you guys end up landing your dream job or acing, you know, that interview that you have really been working hard for. So I wish you luck, and please apply these tips on the next time that you interview. And I thank you again for connecting with me today, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.